Well, there was my brother. There was two of us. I was like, what's up? And we got beat up a lot. And my parents were like, dude, they're not going to survive. And so they moved us to Southern California to a city called Irvine. Does anybody know where Irvine is? And I got to Irvine and I was like, oh my God, this place is nice. But then the first day of school came and everybody had really cool clothes. And when I was young, my parents got married very, very young. And so my grandma made all my clothes when I was a kid. And so I remember our first day of school, I looked at everybody and they all had Nike, Quicksilver, Gotcha, Billabong, you know, all this kind of stuff. And I had like Mervyn's, Target, Cheetah. And I saw some kid with the alligator on her shirt, like Lacoste or whatever. And so I went to my grandma and I made her go get an alligator and she sewed one on my shirt. And there was this girl, Teresa Holstead, who was like the prettiest girl in school. And I went up to her and I saw her and I was like, and she's all, oh, cool alligator. And she touched it and it fell off. And I was like, I had my first panic attack when I was a little kid. I was like, no, alligator. And so, I always knew that I wanted to make a lot of money. I was never afraid to work hard. I didn't know how. My mom said, you know, go to school, get good grades. My parents got divorced when I was 13. They got remarried when I was 15. They got divorced again when I was 16. My mom hurt her back, and so me, my mom, my brother grew up in a really small apartment, like really small. And you know when like your parents are struggling financially, they always try to hide it from the kids? I can remember one morning, like every morning, my mom was crying, and I came up to her, I was like, Mom, what's wrong? And she goes, oh, no, everything's fine, and she like ran into the room. And I looked on the table, and it was like all the bills, and you know, the checkbook, and I was like, gosh, and so I never knew what I wanted to do. Like a lot of people wanted to be a doctor, they wanted to be an attorney. All I knew is I wanted to make a lot of money, and I wanted to help out my mom financially, and you know, I wanted to not have a boss. Like, I hate having a boss. Nobody likes being told what to do, right?
No.
Oh, you guys do? No. Any girls in here like that? Just kidding. Just kidding. What? You guys were all quiet. You guys were quiet. So I went to college. I went to Utah Valley. Oh, it's not that funny. I went to Utah Valley State College. I got a 4.0 for 2 weeks, and then I dropped out. I went to college for 2 weeks. I hated it. My business teacher was riding a bike to school, and I was like, what? Like, I've got a degree in common sense, you know? This is the guy that's supposed to teach me to be powerful, well-versed, sophisticated, to go out there and dominate the marketplace. And he's cruising to campus on a Schwinn, you know? He had his pants tucked into his socks so it wouldn't get caught on the chain. So I was like, no, I don't think so. So I dropped out, and I got a job at a video arcade center in Irvine called Palace Park. It's now called Boomers. And my official title was Token Boy. I had a bag of tokens, and I walked around the arcade, and when kids would lie and say, oh, the machine ate my token, I'm like, yeah, right over here. And that was like my job. A guy that I worked there with, who I didn't like, I didn't respect, and I didn't know that much, kept inviting me to go to a meeting like this, and I kept saying no. And finally, he just asked me so many times. See, remember, all of my training is in story form, so you gotta pick it up. So here's like the first one, okay? He asked me so many times, I was like, dude, fine, I'll go, okay? So I went to the meeting. It was 500 Chinese people. Once again, I'm like the only white person in the room, except for my friend that brought me, okay? And I was sitting probably like right over there, like right in that area. And I don't know what it's like for you guys here in Colorado, but like in Southern California, when you're young, the cool thing to do is to not smile. So I sat through the whole presentation like this. And the cooler you are, the farther back your head is. And they would tell like a joke, and I was like, okay. Like a joke could even have a sexual purpose. Doesn't even make sense. It's funny you're in South Africa. I bomb jokes all the time. Okay, it happens. So, about halfway through the presentation, my friend elbowed me and he goes, dude, what's your problem? And I go, what do you mean? He goes, if you're so cool and you're so smart, how come you're broke?
Oh.
And so, to make a long story longer, the guy on stage just said one thing that really made a lot of sense to me. He said, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, because if you don't have money to start a business, then you're always working for someone else to have the money to start the business. And that made so much sense to me. So I joined network marketing when I was 19 years old. I was so excited. I went home, I told all my friends about it, and they all told me it was a scam and I was stupid. One of my friends even was like, did you touch anything? I was like, what do you mean? He's like, you didn't leave fingerprints anymore. Those people are all going to jail. Oh yeah, I went to the bathroom. I'm like counting back my steps, freaking out, right? And so all my friends said no. And And so I called up my sponsor and I was like, dude, I prayed about it and God said I shouldn't do it. And he laughed at me. And I go, what's so funny? He goes, I know you don't pray. I hadn't started yet. And so he said, why don't you come over to my house and I'll break it down and I'll show you how this business works. And again, training point number 2, a lot of us join and we think we got it. And we go out there and we talk to our friends without the proper training. So of course you make mistakes. So slowly I started to do better and I signed up my first 5 people. And then it grew and it grew and it grew to 3,000 people when I was 19. My check went from $5 an hour to $5,000 a week when I was 19 years old. And I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. And I remember one of my really good friends, he didn't just say no, but it was the way he said no. He was like, oh, it's cool, bro, it's not for me. And he kind of looked at me like I was lesser of a person. Oh, you too? Oh, okay. I thought we had the same story. And so he goes, oh, it's cool, bro, it's not for me. So anyway, I ended up making more money. I became a millionaire by 21. I bought my first Lamborghini Diablo when I was 22. I bought it cash for $334,000. I drove it back to his house and I parked it on his lawn. He came outside. True story, I've done it more than once. He came outside and he was like, dude, bro, you gotta take me for a ride. And I was like, oh, it's cool, bro, it's not for you. Funny story. So, me and my brother have been doing network marketing full time since we were 19. I made over $10 million by the time I was 26 years old. I started my own network marketing company twice, lost big twice. Here, I'll show you, there's me and my brother right there. And that's my first Lamborghini at 22 years old. And me and my brother hired the police department and we shut down the city of Los Angeles. And we had 2 police helicopters, 10 cars, and 30 motorcycles. Is network marketing cool or what? And there's me and my brother driving in front. There's the police escort. That was a lot of fun. That's the day after I bought it. Oddly enough, I forgot to insure my brother that day, so only one of us could drive the car. That's our second Lamborghini, and that's me and my brother. That's a famous rapper named Dub C, and he did his VH1 behind-the-scenes music at my house. We lived next door to Britney Spears. She didn't come over much, but I did babysit her dog once. One of the first things I did when I made a lot of money is I bought my mom a new car, and that was definitely a good experience. My mom's never had a new car before. I think me and my brother spent over $2 million in cars in 24 months. It was ridiculous. Just me bragging more, yes. More cars. Me and my brother got a $40,000 bonus check on stage. More stuff. Celebrities. Don't worry, I'm trying to get past this. And then it goes dark. Whoa! I get extra time. Okay, now we're gonna go super. Okay, I got 5 minutes. That was actually a cool reminder because now I know where I'm at in my story. So here's what happened. I started making a lot of money, and all the mentors that I was following somehow ended up screwing me over. And I couldn't separate all the good training that I got from the mentors. So what happened was I stopped doing all the things that it took for me to get successful because I associated it with the people that ripped me off and called me and lied to me. And me and my brother kind of went off, and we just started partying too much. And I went through a really bad drug phase that you guys have probably never even heard me talk about. And for about 5 years, I did nothing. And my team went from 67,000 people to 50,000 to 40,000 to 30,000, and over time it just kept going lower and lower and lower, all the way to the point where I was homeless. And before I joined Vemma, I had no car, no house, nothing. I called up my mom. I was in a company called Braun, similar to a lot of the cool companies that are out now. I won't name any names, but I was making $50,000 a month, and the company got shut down for being an illegal pyramid. I went from 50 grand a month to nothing overnight. So I had to call my mom, move back in. That was very difficult. Then my mom got a boyfriend, so I had to move out. That was even more difficult. I didn't know where to go. I called up my friend Charles. I stayed with Charles. Matt Morrow had been trying to get me into Vemma for 6 months, and I kept saying no, no. I ended up calling him. He came over, told me what it was all about. I joined. I hit presidential my 5th month. I've now stayed there for 5 years. I'm very comfortable there, I guess. I like it. Presidential sounds good, you know? And so I got my business picked up, and I was making about $10,000 a month residually. And then a guy that I know called me up, and he's like, dude, if you don't join this other company, I'm going to take all your people. And I was like, yeah, right, whatever. he gave bonuses to all my top producers, took all my people, and my check went all the way down to nothing. And I was like, gosh, my life is very difficult here. So I moved to Taiwan. I'm trying to speed it up here, okay? I moved to Taiwan. I lived in Taiwan for 2 years. And my check had dropped all the way to $200 a week. That's how much my check was when I was in Taiwan. But I didn't care because I met the girl of my dreams, the person I was going to marry, Rebecca Liu, and we got engaged. It was very cool. And we went on our honeymoon in Thailand, and we were together every day, 24/7. We were absolutely inseparable. What's funny is we both grew up in Los Angeles, and we both moved to Taiwan, but we never met in LA, but we met in Taiwan. Well, a lot of you guys know she was battling with depression, and she lost. And we got into an argument, and I left, and 10 minutes later, she killed herself. And I was downstairs when it happened, and so I was one of the first people to find her. So I ran over to her, and I held her hand, and I talked to her, and she was alive, and her eyes were open, she was breathing, but she wasn't talking back. And the ambulances got there, and then we all went to the hospital. And I'll never forget her dad coming up to me in English. He struggled, and he's like, "What happened?" I'm like, "I don't know what to say." I was just crying, hysterical, and the police took me away and questioned me because they thought that I killed her. And for 4 hours, the police interrogated me in a jail in Taiwan. And a friend of mine called and said, "Yeah, she broke her back, she'll never walk again." And I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna stay with her." And then my friend called me, he's like, "Yeah, she passed away." And for 2 weeks, I was a mess. My dad flew to Taiwan, came to get me, said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I don't know." Clay Jackson called me. He's like, "Look, I've been through what you've been through. Come to Africa." I went to Africa. I stayed in Kenya, East Africa for 2 months. I've got no money. I'm totally heartbroken. Don't know what I'm going to do with my life. And he's like, "Look, I've got an office in South Africa. You can run it." I said, "What's going on there?" He said, "Absolutely nothing. I've got 500 boxes of Vemma that are about to expire. Can you help me?" I'm like, "Help you? I thought you were going to help me." So I got on a plane. I flew to South Africa. Oh yeah, I forgot. Wait, there's the other. Yeah, that's the sad one. And so I got to South Africa, and it was just me. Our office is like literally this big. And there's 500 boxes of Vemma about to expire. I'm absolutely heartbroken. I'm broke. I've got no car, and I'm living in a hotel. Hold on. But I met a few college students, and they went on my Facebook, and they're like, "Wow, you used to make a lot of money." I was like, "Don't rub it in, smarty." And they're like, "Can you show us how to do it?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." Dude, one time. It's freaking amazing. So our little meeting started to get bigger. All we had was Vemma. There's no Verve, there's no nothing. And there's only one channel. It's the Braun show, 24/7 there. There's, nothing. And so our meetings started getting bigger, and they started getting bigger. And I do a meeting 5 nights a week in Cape Town, South Africa, and they got bigger, and they got bigger, and they got bigger. And now, 5 nights a week, we have a meeting between 100 and 300 people. 5 nights a week in Cape Town, South Africa. Woo! We probably enroll somewhere between 30 and 50 new brand partners a day. But everybody joins with a 1-pack because we don't have builder packs. We don't have credit card. We don't have auto ship. We don't have builder packs. We don't have frenzy bonus. We don't have free is free. We got me and a Vemma bottle. That's it, okay? And if I can do it there, but one thing that's really cool is Michelle Barnes did fly all the way from America, all the way to South Africa. So she's the only American they've ever met. They're like, "Whoa." Very cool. And I'm totally amped. Last week I did 90 cycles. I was almost up to like 100 a week. I was like, "Dude, I'm gonna blow right past Star Press. I'm going ambassador." And then we ran out of product. We run out of product in South Africa like every couple months. And then we're just doing meetings and we're like, "Product's coming, product's coming." So every challenge you can possibly think of, and now I'm back up to about 100 cycles a week. And so I'll rank advance to Star Presidential and then to Ambassador. I wrote a book, it's being published. I'm super excited about it. Woo! Tell me more about it. I'm done. The last person I wanted to thank, obviously Michelle Barnes and Matt Morrow. He's been a really good friend of mine for a long time. We've known each other for years and years and years. And he's really done a lot for me. And he does a lot for everybody. He does a lot for the company. And so I wanted to make sure, Matt, if you're watching, thank you. And thank you, Tom Alcazan, for the roadmap to success and the example that you and your son provide to the company. Totally amazing. I've just been super humbled over the past few years, recent events. I'm glad to be here. Dude, if I can do it with nothing, you guys can do it. Thanks for having me. Woo!